May God's blessing be upon us. And may God protect us from the enemy who would try to steal this work from us. Amen. As a church, we have been reading through the Bible, starting in Genesis, and we've read Exodus, and then we just finished reading Leviticus this week. And I hope you've enjoyed Leviticus every bit as much as I did as you read it this week and finished it reading it this week. And I say that somewhat tongue firmly planted in cheek. We tend to read, I read it on my own, but then in the evening we read it as a family at the supper table. And the supper table is probably not the best place to read Leviticus. It's just not great summertime reading. There's lots of really weird things that happen in Leviticus that really don't fit our modern way of thinking when it comes to serving God or worshiping or how we deal with issues of cleanliness and uncleanliness. But we do go to Leviticus finding very important things there. And even though we don't completely understand it, and most of us understand that Leviticus is a book of rules, a book of laws, and a book of commandments of how the people of Israel were to order their lives, and how we as the people of God are to order our lives in a way that we can serve God and love each other and continue to be in community and in love and charity with each other. So it's a book of rules. But what we find interesting, again, as like what we call moderns, as opposed to the ancients of those times, as a modern people, it's hard for us to read Leviticus. As much because it's not nearly in the kind of order we think of. Whoever wrote Leviticus did not have their strunk and white style manual next to them, telling them how to write something in a particular order. One of the first things that I remember learning of importance in school was how to make an outline before writing a paper. And having the big Roman numerals and the small things and big segments of things and little. And so everything kind of fell into place. And it would make sense when you wrote a paper, when someone read it, that you could get your point across. In Leviticus, it doesn't seem to work that way. It doesn't seem to come first with an outline. It just seems to be God telling Moses and Moses getting these words written down. Again, I've looked at lots of different rule books and manuals. One of the things I did after I finished playing soccer, I became a soccer referee. And as a soccer referee, you have to learn the rules of the game called the laws of soccer. And you go through the law book of soccer because you have to find out how to enforce the law in such a way that you're almost invisible on the field, that you aren't more important than the game itself. You have to know all the rules. And if you look at the soccer book of rules, it has it nicely laid out how to deal with this situation and that situation, how to start the game, how big the ball should be, what size the playing field should be, how many players, how they can play. It even explains that if you have trouble with soccer, it's usually offside. It even explains offside pretty clearly as a part of the rules of soccer. You can pick up the book, even if you didn't know anything about it, and kind of find where these rules are pretty easily by looking at the table of contents or looking to the back and looking at the index. It makes sense. It's well ordered. Even our own church, even the United Methodist Church, has what we call the United Methodist Book of Discipline, which we put together every 4 years as part of General Conference, and General Conference Action, which are the laws and rules of the church. They dictate how we have to order our lives and how we are to be a church, really. And if you open up the Book of Discipline, you can find things where it talks about what it means to be a local church, what it has to happen at the district level, what happens at the conference level, what at the general conference level. It talks about how to do different committee things in the church. It talks about how bishops do what bishops do and clergy do what clergy does. It even talks about who we are as a Methodist people, what it calls our distinctive Wesleyan emphasis. All found in our rule book, our United Methodist discipline. And if you look at the front of it, there's a nice table of contents that in a good order tells you how to find each of those things. And if that's not good enough, there's an index in the back to help you find those places. And if you find the work of, say, the trustee, it's all in one place. If you find the work of worship, it's all in one place. And it starts to make sense. Again, to the way we think. to our ordered kind of life. And it talks about what it means to have family life and church life and what the economic world looks like. It has everything nicely compartmentalized. That's what rule books do. They compartmentalize our lives. And it says at this point in your life you do this, and at this time in life you do this, and on this day you do these things, and it helps us to find order. And then we bring this mindset, this mentality, to the book of Leviticus. And in the book of Leviticus, we find that the order is not quite like that. That we'll find in one verse or one sentence or one paragraph rules that have to do with how we worship, about cleanliness, about bodily fluids, about our economic life, about how agriculture works, about how you should wear your clothes, about how you should stand and where you should be. And it's all kind of in a hodgepodge together. It's not separated. If someone were to take Leviticus out and put it into different categories, you might be able to understand it better. You might be able to understand what to do with worship, and what to do with the field, and what to do with our family, and what to do when we need to be cleansed, and what kind of sacrifices we need to bring, and how we need to put blood on the altar in different places. But it all just kind of weaves in there together. And we start reading, well, what is going on? How does this work this way? But again, that's the difference between how we as moderns think about it and how the ancients saw what was happening and what God really is expecting of all of us. Because, no, I'm not ready to go back to the Levitical code and live it word for word and day for day. I don't believe I can make it 5 or 10 minutes trying to do what Leviticus has called me to do. But I do believe there's an underlying theme here that's important for all of us. And that is, God doesn't see a difference in how we live in our family life, in our economic life, in our church life, in our daily life, in our home life, in our fun life. God doesn't see the difference in that. And the people of ancient Israel didn't see the difference in that. It was all the same. It was all about serving God and everything they did. What they did on Sunday morning, or Saturday for them for the Sabbath, or Friday week, what they did on Sabbath affected them all week long. Sometimes I think that we come on Sunday morning and say, I got my church stuff out of the way, we mark off our church stuff, and then we work on our Monday stuff and our Tuesday stuff, and what happens on Friday night has nothing to do with what happened on Sunday morning, and what happens on Saturday night, we really want to keep out of Sunday morning. And what we do on Wednesday afternoons all by ourselves has nothing to do with God. We fall into this trap of thinking that everything is its own time and its own place. And so we order our lives and we order our rules that way. Leviticus, at the very least, reminds us that God sees it all as being one. That there is no separation from work and family and worship. There is no difference between cleanliness and uncleanliness, in and out of the workplace, in and out of the worship place. And yes, for some reason, as Leviticus reminds us, bodily fluids matter. And where they end up. And all different kinds of them matter in Leviticus. To the point where I can't even go back over and tell you what it talks about. But as I was thinking about that, how we always want our things to be disconnected and compartmentalized. I was thinking about baptism. We're going to have a baptism this morning. And even a few weeks ago, sometimes we think of the pristine act of worship. And how everything is so wonderful and pretty and nice and ordered, and we have all the right words, and we have it in our book of worship, and we have it in our hymnal here, we have it up on the screen. I'll tell you this, a few Sundays ago, we had a baptism. And I saw the connection there. And this happened then, it's happened a lot of times with baptism, because babies are babies. And when babies need to take care of their business, they don't wait for the proper time to do that. If they gotta go, they go. So a couple of Sundays ago, it hit me again how sometimes it's all mixed in here together. And I was standing before you, and I'm holding a little baby in my hand, a cute little cherubic baby, smiling and giggling, ready to be baptized. Wow. And then there was that smell. I got 3 kids of my own. I know what that smell is. It's one of 2 things. It's either a loaded diaper or just a little bit of gas. It could be either of it. In the middle of this wonderful, beautiful experience, bodily fluids. Body works when it wants to. Now, nobody in a proper setting would say, okay, let's change the diaper right here in front of the church. That would seem out of place. But if you have children and you change the diaper, or if you don't have children and you change the diaper, you find out there's a sacred moment in changing your diaper for children. It's a connecting moment of making sure your child is clean, of checking the diaper to see if they're okay, because what happens in diapers can tell us a lot about health and cleanliness and all of those kinds of things. It's a sacred moment. It's an important moment as a parent to a child. And even in that little moment, we can start to see that Leviticus is on to something by calling us back to an understanding that everything is connected, that everything matters to God, and how we operate matters to God. What we do on Tuesday does matter what we do on Wednesday, and what we do on Sunday does matter for Saturday night. We're to live our lives in a holy and righteous way, serving God in all we do, at all times and in all places, and in each and every moment. I believe that that's the basis of what Leviticus is telling us to do, that God was through Moses telling the people of Israel, that all you do, that all you're about, you can serve me. And I think that perhaps it's time for us to change our way of thinking and compartmentalizing everything. And saying, this is my Sunday morning worship time. What I do after this is my time. I'll do what I want. And say, it's all God's time. And it all leads up to a moment of worship, a moment of sacredness, saying, this is about what God would have me do. This is how God would have me do it. So that I can better serve Him, so that I can be in love and charity with my neighbor. And we can serve each other, serve God, and all of God. In the name of the Father, and of the Son,